Very much, George. BART's been on the national stage in recent weeks, and another protest is reportedly planned for Monday in response to the transit agency's decision to cut off cell phone service in an effort to discourage protesters. So the question is, does the move by BART violate riders' First Amendment rights, freedom of speech? And joining us right now to talk about this is our legal analyst who joins us every week. Good morning.
Good morning, Mark. Nice to see you.
So this is really interesting, and I hear both sides of this argument. Did BART violate people's rights by cutting off their ability to use their cell phones?
Okay, that's the issue. That's a First Amendment right. Now, you can take away that right if you have a compelling interest. And in this case, the safety of the riders of BART. And these are innocent folks who work, put in a good hard day's work, or are trying to get somewhere in this tough economy. And what happens? They meet these protesters who get in the way, stop the commute, cause problems, cause fights, etc. I call it a selfish protest. Is it a First Amendment right? Absolutely. But I think it's overridden, no pun intended, it is overridden by the fact that safety of these riders, these commuters, is of utmost importance. And I put to you, Mark, I say these protesters should protest in front of the BART office, somewhere else. Why do these protesters have to interfere with drivers, commuters, BART riders? Okay, now, but one thing that bothers me is the Oscar Grant case. That was caught on a phone video. Perhaps that would not have been caught if this rule had been implemented. It's a two-edged sword. I just don't like the fact that innocent people, riders of BART, are having their rights infringed upon. They have rights too. So I call it a selfish protest. You have a First Amendment right, but there's a compelling interest. You take it away. And in this case, I think that lawsuit, I'm glad they didn't file that lawsuit, because I would have been on BART's side. I think BART would have prevailed.
From the protester side, you have a right to protest, but you have to get a permit, right?
You have to get a permit
and protest?
Right. It's a balancing test. And they balance public safety versus the rights of the protesters. They balance these things. In this case, I think the balance goes toward the protesters. Why? They could protest somewhere else. They can get their point across somewhere else. Why do they have to interfere with the commuters? And that's what I put the challenge out to these protesters. Stop interfering with innocent people's lives. You know, years ago they used to protest at UC Berkeley. They did it on the campus. They didn't interfere with people's lives. Now they're interfering with commuters.
And we see the first protest here, and then by cutting off the cell phone service, they actually prevented protests from happening.
Absolutely. And the safety now, people can ride the BART train. Look at all these people, police officers. You have to commute home 40 miles and you're running into that. Police officers, a crowd, that's ridiculous. That's a joke of a protest. That's a selfish protest, and that defeats the underlying purpose of what they're really protesting about. Their message, Mark, gets drawn away, it gets liquidated because of this.
From a constitutional standpoint, it seems to be in uncharted waters here as far as the right to freedom of speech when it involves cell phones and your right to be able to have a cell phone signal.
That's true. Cell phones have caused a lot of trouble. It's not uncharted territory in terms of a public protest, of getting in the way of public safety. This is old stuff. This has been going on for years. The Supreme Court has dealt with this issue many, many, many times, but you're right. The cell phones kind of give a new twist to it, but at the end of the day, it's the First Amendment right versus public safety. And in this case, I think the public safety is severely affected by a protest that could take place elsewhere.
All right, that was the big argument that BART brought out too. I guess the flip side would be what would happen if they didn't cut off cell phone service and someone was injured during the protest. Then I think people would come down on BART for that.
Just for a protest. I think overall, though, there should be service on the station. Remember, we never would have seen the Oscar Grant case. However, if there's no protest, you can have it. If there's a protest coming up and everyone knows about it, then cut it off and let them protest somewhere else.
All right, interesting legal argument on either side. Ivan Golde, thanks for joining us this morning, and we'll be right back as the Crown 4 Morning News continues. We'll leave you with a live look here from the fog over Mount Tam.